All right, today we're diving into a mental tool that is, no joke, a complete game changer. It's called the Art of Reframing, and it's all about how you can take the toughest parts of life, the setbacks, the failures, and actually turn them into your biggest strengths.
So let's just start with a really big question right off the bat. What if that one thing, you know the one, that thing you see as your biggest failure or your most frustrating obstacle, what if it wasn't a roadblock at all? What if it was actually a hidden opportunity, a redirection in disguise?
You see, the power to make that shift, it all happens in a single moment. It's this tiny, tiny window, a split second, that exists between an event and your interpretation of that event. We call this the space. And honestly, it's a moment most of us miss completely.
Think about it like this. We basically have two paths we can take. The first path is just autopilot. Something happens, and bam, we have an immediate, usually negative, gut reaction. But the second path, that one introduces something absolutely crucial. A pause. The space. And that little pause is everything. It's where we stop just reacting and start consciously choosing our response.
And hey, this isn't some new age fluffy concept. We're talking about an idea from Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust. He figured this out decades ago. He said that in that tiny space between what happens and how we respond, that's where our freedom is. That's where our growth lives. It is literally the training ground for your entire life.
Okay, so the goal is to master that space, right? But how do we actually do it? Well, it's through what we're calling the art of reframing. You can think of it like a form of mental alchemy. It's this process of taking the raw, heavy material of pain and transforming it into the gold of perspective. Now, we've got to be super clear about what reframing is and what it isn't. It is a conscious choice. This is not about pretending that bad things don't happen or slapping a fake smile on everything. No, it's about looking at the hardship, acknowledging it's real, and then choosing to find a meaning that actually serves you, a meaning that transforms its role in the story of your life.
I love this metaphor because it really gets to the heart of it. When you're stuck on autopilot, just reacting all the time, you're like a character getting pushed around by the plot. But when you reframe, you pick up the pen. You become the author again. You get to decide what these events mean and where your story goes next.
So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds really nice, but is it real? Is there any actual science to back this up? And the answer is a huge yes. Reframing isn't just wishful thinking. It's a legitimate biological process. Let's actually look at the science of how this works inside your brain.
So the whole psychological foundation for this is a concept called emotional agility. It was coined by the psychologist Susan David, and it's basically the skill of being flexible with your own thoughts and feelings, being able to experience them without letting them control you.
And this right here is where everything clicks. A rigid mindset, well, it treats your emotions like they're direct orders. You know, I feel anxious, so I must avoid this. I feel angry, so I must lash out. But an agile mindset, it sees emotions as just information. They're signals, not commands. They're data you can look at with curiosity instead of just obeying them.
And that brings us to this powerful idea from Susan David herself. So many of us spend our lives trying to run away from discomfort. But emotional agility teaches us that leaning into that discomfort is actually the price of admission for a meaningful life. All the good stuff, all the growth, it happens right at the edge of our comfort zone.
So how does this mental shift actually change our physical brain? Well, the answer is this incredible thing called neuroplasticity. It's your brain's amazing ability to physically reorganize itself. I mean, the thoughts you think over and over again literally carve out stronger pathways in your brain, while the old, unhelpful ones get weaker.
If you boil all that complex science down, it's this simple. Your brain learns what you teach it. If you constantly teach it that setbacks are proof that you're a failure, you are literally building a brain that is wired for helplessness. But if you consistently teach it to reframe those same setbacks as opportunities to learn, you are physically building a brain wired for resilience.
Okay, so we get the what and the why. Now for the really important part, the how. How do we actually do this in our day-to-day lives? Let's get super practical and turn all this theory into a daily mental workout you can actually use.
Let's make this really concrete. So imagine two people, right? They both go through the exact same event. They lose their job. Person A's immediate autopilot thought is, I am a failure. And the outcome of that is despair, not moving forward. But person B pauses and reframes it as, okay, this is a redirection.
That simple shift opens the door to reinvention and finding something even better. Same event, totally different interpretation, and a radically different life.
So if you want a playbook, here it is, 5 simple but powerful steps. First, just pause. Don't immediately slap a label on what happened. Second, name what's actually true, the facts, not the dramatic story you're telling yourself. Third, ask better questions, questions that focus on learning, not on blame. Fourth, find something to be grateful for, to anchor yourself in what's possible. And fifth, take a minute every day to reflect. It makes all the difference.
And that third step, asking better questions. This is a total superpower. Instead of falling into the trap of asking, why is this happening to me? You make a conscious shift. You start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Or how can this experience make me stronger? Seriously, the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life.
And here's the best part. The whole point of practicing this is to make it automatic. Yeah, at first it feels like work. It takes real, conscious effort. But you keep doing it, and just like lifting weights, it builds a kind of muscle memory for your mind. Your new mindset becomes your new reflex. Resilience becomes your default setting.
And when you put all this together, something profound starts to happen. This is the ultimate transformation we're talking about. You fundamentally change your relationship with challenges. You stop seeing adversity as something to dread and avoid, and you start seeing it as an opportunity. You begin to realize that every single difficult experience comes with 2 gifts. The first gift is information. It's data, telling you what needs to change, maybe in your strategy or your mindset. And the second gift is an invitation to grow into a stronger, wiser, more capable version of yourself.
And this isn't just a philosophical idea. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman nails it from a biological perspective. Our nervous system, our entire body, learns and adapts best right at the edge of our comfort zone. That friction we try so hard to avoid, that's actually the very thing that grows us.
This quote right here, this sums up the entire idea so perfectly. The pain doesn't just vanish into thin air, but the very moment you choose to give it a constructive meaning, it transforms. It becomes purpose. It becomes the fuel for your next chapter.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. You can't control the storm. Life is always going to have storms. But reframing is the skill that teaches you how to steer through it. It's the difference between being tossed around by the waves and becoming the captain of your own ship. And that, right there, is true resilience.